Ocean climate solutions, outpacing outdated policies. In a startling revelation, experts are cautioning that the scientific community, financial backers, and legislative bodies must synchronize their efforts to ensure judicious decision-making and implementation of innovative oceanic climate solutions. The swift evolution of these methodologies, encompassing genetic alterations of corals, enhancement of ocean alkalinity, and expansive seaweed farming, has outpaced the ability of governments and communities to formulate suitable policies, ethical guidelines, and public discourse. Professor Tiffany Morrison from James Cook University and the University of Melbourne spearheaded a recent study published in Science. https://s8foulsplate.outlook.com URL http://3a%2flash www.science.org%10.1126 science.adq0174 data equals 05%02 rohan.o'neill%40jcu.edu.au %BA4CD CF79C4CME %308C4E81 8CD4F1482A7 %0 %638895283718428 Unknown TWFHALTHE SAN %10.112 CF BL505 704 787 %3D %7 Stata equals JX%H. A plethora of new interventions and technologies are emerging, but due to their novelty, there's a dearth of background knowledge or comprehension of the hazards they might pose. There's a prevailing optimism surrounding these interventions, but to ensure that the opportunities are maximized and the risks are minimized, scientists, funders, and policymakers must update existing decision-making frameworks. Without a harmonized approach to science and policy, we risk maladaptation, solving one crisis while inadvertently creating another. The research advocates for scientists to conduct more comparative studies and ensure transparency in reporting all outcomes, while funders are urged to mandate open disclosure as a prerequisite for support. Policymakers, on the other hand, must revise legal and policy frameworks to mirror the realities of these nascent technologies and to ensure that local and indigenous communities are meaningfully engaged and benefit equitably. It's not merely a matter of research ethics. It's a broader ethical discourse that communities and policymakers need to engage in before these interventions are scaled up. Co-author, Associate Professor Emily Ogier from the University of Tasmania remarked, "Presently, the legal and policy frameworks are inadequate for our future needs. The potential to unite people to share insights from interventions across various locations and scales is immense." If we could achieve this in Australia, we could enhance our global standing in environmental management and lead the way. This research was financed by the Australian Research Council, ARC, and the US Society for Nature and People Partnership. Collaborators included the University of Melbourne, the University of Tasmania's Institute for Marine and Antarctic Studies, the University of Michigan, the University of Exeter, and the Gulf of Maine Research Institute. But here's where it gets controversial. The study's findings imply that the current pace of technological advancement in oceanic climate solutions may outstrip our ability to regulate and ethically manage them. And this is the part most people miss. The potential for unintended consequences, if not managed carefully, could lead to new crises. What are your thoughts on this? Do you believe that the benefits of these oceanic climate solutions outweigh the potential risks? Or should we proceed with more caution? Share your views in the comments below. Marine climate interventions, the promise and perils. The world's oceans, vast and seemingly indestructible, are quietly undergoing profound changes that could reshape life as we know it. Rising temperatures are killing coral reefs, melting ice caps are pushing sea levels higher, and the increasing acidity of seawater is threatening marine life that depends on stable conditions to survive. These transformations, unfolding right before our eyes, carry enormous implications for both the natural world and human societies that rely on healthy oceans. But here's where it gets controversial. As we race against time to combat these effects, humanity is turning to bold, experimental interventions in marine environments. Interventions that may hold promise, but also come with significant risks. In response to escalating climate challenges, researchers, policymakers, and industries are exploring innovative ways to intervene in ocean ecosystems. From breeding corals that can withstand rising temperatures to farming seaweed on a massive scale, these strategies aim to mitigate damage or even reverse some effects of climate change. Yet, while these ideas sound promising, they're not without their drawbacks. Some interventions might fail to deliver meaningful results. Others could worsen existing problems, and still others raise ethical concerns about fairness and unintended consequences. One pressing issue is that the speed at which new solutions are being developed far outpaces our ability to responsibly regulate and evaluate them. Without proper oversight, there's a real danger that we'll waste resources on ineffective measures, or worse, miss critical opportunities to prevent irreversible harm to marine ecosystems. This dilemma forms the core of recent research published in Science, where experts reviewed evidence on the risks associated with emerging ocean-based climate interventions and proposed tools to better assess those risks. So, what exactly are these interventions? They range widely in scope and ambition, reflecting humanity's creativity in addressing this global crisis. For instance, scientists in North America are testing methods to make seawater more alkaline, reducing its acidity so it can absorb more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Meanwhile, in Australia, researchers are working to breed heat-resistant corals capable of surviving warmer waters and transplanting them onto damaged reefs. In Africa, large-scale seaweed farming projects aim to capture carbon and counteract acidification, while mangrove restoration efforts across Asia seek to protect coastal communities from storm surges and erosion. And let's not forget initiatives like banning offshore oil drilling to curb greenhouse gas emissions altogether. However, each approach comes with trade-offs. Take the idea of making oceans more alkaline. While it holds potential to reduce atmospheric CO2 levels, verifying how much carbon is actually removed remains a major hurdle. Additionally, altering ocean chemistry could disrupt local ecosystems, harming fish populations and other marine species. Similarly, restoring coral reefs offers short-term biodiversity benefits, but long-term success hinges on whether warming stays within manageable limits, a big if given current trends. Coral restoration is also costly and labor-intensive, raising questions about scalability. Seaweed farming presents another complex picture. On one hand, proponents argue it could provide multiple environmental benefits beyond carbon capture, such as improving water quality and supporting sustainable aquaculture. On the other hand, scaling up requires vast areas of ocean space, potentially displacing fisheries, shipping routes, and conservation zones. Moreover, doubts persist about whether seaweed farming truly removes carbon from the atmosphere over the long term. To achieve just 10% of the annual carbon removal needed to limit warming to 1.5 degrees C, for example, would require cultivating over 1 million square kilometers of seaweed, an area larger than Texas. What makes matters even trickier is that these interventions often interact with one another, creating cumulative impacts that are hard to predict. Poorly planned projects risk displacing traditional users of marine resources, undermining indigenous rights, or eroding public trust in climate action. Without careful consideration, well-intentioned efforts could end up exacerbating the very issues they set out to address. And this is the part most people miss. Governance gaps and ethical dilemmas loom large over marine climate interventions. Existing regulations are frequently outdated, fragmented, or ill-suited for managing activities in ocean environments. Few nations have robust biosafety laws tailored to the unique challenges of marine ecosystems. As a result, many interventions move forward without thorough risk assessments or meaningful engagement with affected communities. Who decides what a healthy ocean looks like? Who takes responsibility if something goes wrong? How do we ensure that the benefits of these interventions are shared equitably among all stakeholders? Currently, decision-making power largely rests with scientists, funders, and non-governmental organizations, leaving governments, local communities, and indigenous groups underrepresented. This imbalance perpetuates historical inequities and calls into question the legitimacy of certain actions. Addressing these gaps will require stronger collaboration between diverse actors, including policymakers, researchers, and grassroots organizations. Encouragingly, progress is being made. Experimental research into capturing and storing blue carbon in coastal ecosystems is yielding valuable guidelines. A US-based nonprofit has even drafted a code of conduct for marine carbon dioxide removal. However, integrating these frameworks into broader governance structures remains an ongoing challenge. High-level policy documents, such as Samoa's Climate Change Policy 2020, highlight the importance of transitioning to more sustainable and adaptive practices. But translating these aspirations into concrete action demands vigilance and commitment. As we navigate this uncharted territory, one thing is clear. The ocean is both a lifeline and a fragile frontier in our fight against climate change. It absorbs excess heat, stores carbon, and supports countless forms of life. But it cannot shoulder this burden indefinitely. If we hope to harness the potential of ocean-based climate action, we must proceed with caution, humility, and foresight. Responsible governance isn't a roadblock to innovation. It's the foundation upon which lasting solutions are built. By embedding ethical principles, inclusivity, and scientific rigor into our strategies, we can pave the way toward a more resilient and equitable future for our oceans and for ourselves. But here's the million-dollar question. Can we balance urgency with prudence in our quest to save the seas? Share your thoughts in the comments below.